Hi and welcome along to the weekend roundup. We are back here with a special today because we didn't have any Premier League games this week, and although we did have some international games, which we will touch on, but the big news that broke last night, it was weird. It must have been about 10:15. The news broke, right? That Antonio Conte had been sacked by Tottenham. Not the biggest surprise in the world, but just maybe the timing, I was just like, it was a bit odd. Yeah. But joining me to discuss it, we've brought in our esteemed panel. We could not discuss it without Abbi here.
Good morning, Rob.
Abbi's in the building. How you doing? We got Tobi, massive Tottenham fan as well. How you doing, Tobes?
Not good.
Shake, man. What, man?
I mean,
Yeah, it's like that.
yeah, it's like that.
Why are you not good? You said he had to go anyway. Well, we'll get there.
Oh, we get there. We got Daps, Man City fan in the building. Big up to Daps. So even a City fan shaking my man. And we're rivals.
That's fine.
We're going for the top.
Let's see if you shake his
We're
hand.
going for the top.
Let's see if you shake his hand at the end of the season.
I know, I'll
eh?
probably be vexed, right? And we got Flex, Man United fan in the building as well, and also all of you guys joining us. Get all of your questions in, your comments in. We can only start one place, and that is the sacking of Antonio Conte. Announced last night that he'd left Tottenham Hotspur by mutual consent. Of course, he had that mega rant the other day after the game. It was probably about 10 days ago, isn't it? When they, winning 3-1 against Southampton. Southampton come back to make it 3-3. And in his press conference after the game, it was an absolute meltdown. A lot of people thought that he could go the next day. But for some reason, it's dragged out this long, to well over a week. But it was announced last night that he's left the club by mutual consent. His assistant, Stellini, taking over with Ryan Mason until the end of the season. And then I guess in the summer they'll decide on, well, I guess if Stellini does a good job, maybe he could be in the frame for the job. Or they'll be after...
Come on, man. You're taking a piss.
I'm just saying.
No, it might be Ryan Mason.
He might do it. Ollie win like 17 games in a row. You know what I mean? Give him the job.
Nah.
Ryan Mason didn't get it last time. Maybe he deserves it this time.
No.
Let's
I thought we were on the same side. you and I are usually on the same side.
Oh, no, you want our credit. You want our credit.
Yeah.
But giving Conte's dues, Tottenham 1 point off where they were last season.
It's
only
mad.
1 point off. Still in the top four, despite the fact that there's a lot of fans complaining. They're still in the top four. Still got a great chance of getting the top four. And Daniel Levy almost in his statement sort of suggested that listen, the focus now is to get into the top four before the end of the season. Let's go straight away, Abbi, to you and get your reaction on the sacking. I know that for quite a long time you've been saying that you wanted him gone. But let's get your reaction.
I was surprised that it took so long to get that done. I mean, I genuinely kind of thought, I was actually on it yesterday and saying that maybe they're not going to sack him because it's already been a week, and I thought that if they were going to do something, it would have been last week. So it did come as a surprise at 10:30 last night. It was a bit odd. Look, I'm happy he's gone because I don't think he's obviously not the right fit for Tottenham, despite what that says that we're only a point off of last season. Anyone with eyes can tell you it's been the most dreadful season, and I don't even know how Tottenham have got themselves into the top four. They have got absolutely no right to be there the way that they've been playing this season. So I think that that's fine. Happy for him to go. You could say it's a risk. I mean, are Tottenham more likely or less likely to get top four with Antonio Conte there?
The form with Stellini's been quite good.
Yes, when Stellini's taken over in those games this year, he's actually been okay. But it's just the same cycle. 18 months later from Jose, we're sat back here, same conversation over and over again. Wrong managerial appointment, wasn't back to the level that the manager probably needed and the squad needs. And here we are again, and it always comes back down to the same thing: chairman, owner, Enoch. I mean, how many times can I say it, Rob? I'm happy he's gone, but in my opinion, nothing will ever change.
What went wrong for him?
What went wrong for Conte?
Yeah,
A lot.
I mean, because you know,
where do you wanna
when he
start?
came in, listen, I'm going to be real now. I know we did, we put out a little thing on AFTV yesterday.
Yeah, the trolling at 11 o'clock at night is just not necessary.
You'd think that they had that ready, like just in case
It's
he
like-
got sacked.
They did.
They've had that prepared for months.
And we don't have short memories. We remember everything.
It was glorious, right? But,
Yeah? Okay,
but the
cool.
one thing I would
The
say,
mad thing is, even though
one-
Arsenal are where they are, they're still trolling Tottenham.
but the one thing I would say, right, being totally honest about it, is that when you brought Conte in, I was like, ooh.
Well, I think everyone was.
Yeah, you thought this would be interesting.
That's a good appointment, man. I'm a little bit worried here, you know what I mean? Because
there's no point of having a manager like that or like Mourinho, like let's say it's like going and getting a Ferrari and putting 20 quid in to drive it. There is no point of doing that. These managers need the amount of money that they get at Chelsea, at City or somewhere like that where you can go and spend what you want.
but he was
Tottenham
back with
is-
200 million pounds.
No, I feel like the 200 million pound thing is
Deceiving.
Is a bit deceiving.
No, but he was backed with 200.
Okay.
He was backed more than Pochettino
Absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
He was backed more
More
than
than
any
Jose
previous
was.
manager, and he was backed with 200 million pounds.
No, so when
It's not like he's come in and he's had nothing.
Okay, I'm not saying he's had nothing, right? So when we want to talk about Conte deserved to be sacked, right? I just think that 200 million pound spend is there's no context behind it, right? Romero was a signing that was made before Conte came
Yep.
in.
Yeah.
With an obligation to buy in the summer, that gets added onto his spend. Destiny Udogie was signed for 20 million. Conte couldn't get to use him in his squad. That's a player that's going to be there for next season. The rest of the players now, I agree. He got Richarlison for 60 million. He got Basuma for 30 million. He got Jet Spence for 16.5 million, right? He brought these players in.
Pedro Porro,
He got
recently.
Pedro Porro in January. He got Kulusevski and Bentancur. And
You got Royale.
he got... Well,
That's a lot of players,
Actually, I
man.
say that Paris
That's
each.
a lot of players.
Paris each.
No, he's had, and that's the point I'm making. So, like, we can't sit here and pretend that Conte was given everything he wanted. But what we can say is Conte was given enough to have not been as bad as he has been with Spurs
Yeah.
this season, and that one is without a doubt facts.
So
That is
why
the point.
is that? You know, I know you're going to come with other reasons, but why? Why did he fail so
Because I feel like
badly? Sort of?
I just feel like he's just gone backwards. I feel like there's been a lot of naivety in the tactics. I feel like there's been a lot of sort of divisive use of our squad. Like, I just feel like everything that he did well last season in the stretch, he's done the opposite this season, right? Last year we praised Conte for getting the best out of the players in our team that were not so great, getting a tune out of even Emerson Royale, Eric Dyer, etc. This season he's gone away from that, right? And listen, nobody says, oh yeah, you're being sacked because you can't get a tune out of Eric Dyer. But when we've actually brought in better players like Basuma, like Richarlison, like Jet Spence, and you don't use these guys.
Danjuma.
Danjuma's brought in
Yeah.
January.
Where is he?
There's a problem there. There's a
Probably
problem there
seen
for me.
this
I feel like this season he's basically kept rotation. Basically hasn't existed with Conte this season outside of the back line. He's barely rotated the midfield. He's barely rotated the attack. In fact, the only time he has rotated is when players have been injured. Right? You have players that are severely out of form that keep playing. They know no matter what, they'll play. What message does that send to players that have been brought in that you've sold on the proviso that they're going to compete? Like Richarlison, for instance. People will take the piss out of the fact that he's scored no Premier League goals. Yeah, great. Okay, fine. He's been a flop this season, but he's started 9 Premier League matches.
Yeah.
He started 9 Premier League matches. He's barely played full 90 minutes in many occasions for Spurs this season. Son has been stinking out the joint. Son has scored once. He scored once for Spurs in like 20, 22 or 23 Premier League starts, and he plays no matter what.
Yeah.
So rotation has been an issue. Tactics has been an issue. He's not been flexible in his tactics at all. It makes teams set up against us way too easy. Like, teams know how we're going to set up, and teams can counteract that.
Yeah.
And you don't do anything to change. And I have no qualms with a manager believing in his plan A, but when your plan A isn't working, be proactive and change it. It takes way too long to change things. What was the point in spending all this money on these players to actually come and improve this team if you're not going to use them?
Yeah. He will never deviate away from whatever he believes. And you can see his stubbornness, whether or not it's in a press conference or in the likes of Danjuma or Jed Spence, where he said from day one, that's a club signing. So what if it's a club signing? It's a signing. Go and utilise it. Why are you going to do that? I mean, when you had Emerson Royale for I mean, the first half of the season being absolutely dreadful, you would still have rather do that than try Jed Spence.
Who's
Even in
now
a cup
doing well.
game, who's now having a good half a season at Rennes, and you bought in Pedro Porro, and then you've got Dan Juma, whether or not that's a club signing or not. He came on and he scored in what was it, the FA Cup?
First game, yeah.
And then that's it. And you say, I feel sorry for the guy, he's sitting there on the bench. Well, that's your prerogative when you've got Son that started every single game and had been absolutely dreadful. He had no right to be doing that, and I think that's the thing. There's no pressure from anyone, and I think Conte just... The one good thing about Tottenham that they always had was that attacking prowess up front, you know?
100%.
That was the most amazing front three. Whatever happened in the defence, you knew that those front three could turn it on at any point. They'll create you something, they'll get you goals, and even if you win 3-2, they'll score. And then whatever's happened has happened because of Antonio Conte. You can't have a drop-off like that from being...
Kane and Son are the best duo, you know, they've got the most goals, isn't it, as a duo?
You can't have that drop-off from being the best, golden boot winner last year, to scoring like 3 goals in a Premier League season. Kulusevski's had injuries, okay, but still doesn't look like half the player. And if it wasn't for Kane, I mean...
Away from
God
goals,
knows.
away from goals with Kane as well, because the narrative around Kane has always been, you know, even when he's not scoring, he's creating.
He does.
I think he's... What has he got, 2 or 3 assists all season?
Yeah, but he's still doing. He still does more than any of them put together.
My thing with Harry Kane is, yes, like obviously Harry Kane is the fulcrum. Like he's the one that links. He's the one that links play. But I don't think me personally, I don't think his general play has been as good as it normally has, as it normally tends to be this season. I feel like there's been a disconnect between him and Son. But I also think that Son individually has been absolutely dreadful this season, and I feel like that issue has been exacerbated by what he's being asked to do under Conte. More often than not, similar to times we had last year, it's like whenever we try to build out from the back, the ball's being played to Son in our own half with his back to goal. Like, he's not good at these things. Like, he's never been good at this. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Conte system's killing him.
Perisic has obviously come into the team, so Perisic basically hugs the width and hugs the line on the left-hand side and basically stretches the game for us. But in doing that, we basically have marginalised Son's role in this team, and he's the one that we want running on to the end of things at the top end of the pitch. But more often than not, he's having to pick up the ball in positions that doesn't suit him. And I feel like that's another thing with Conte. I don't think this season he's put players where they can influence the team the best. I don't think he's done that well enough this season at all. I really don't. And I just think, and then even the tactics as well. I'm not a snob when it comes to tactics. Like, I'm not one who's going to be begging and pining for, swashbuckling football. As long as it's sustainable and it can get you results week to week, I'll get on board with it, especially for a manager like Conte. But I feel like this season he's just regressed. Like, it's just got a bit more negative. We've played more deeper. We're not committing as many bodies forward. When you want to make substitutions, you never want to put on more than 3 attackers at any given time. And if you do, they're playing wing back. Like, something has to give.
He gave up.
Do you Flex, right?
He gave up.
As a club that was being linked with Conte, do you look at it and think, wow, we dodged a real bullet?
Yeah, a huge bullet. I mean, and I'm going to hold my hands up and say, actually, at the time, because, you know, when you're directionless and you're desperate and you're in, you know what I mean, you're in the slumps like Man United were last season, you look at things and think the grass is greener all the time. Serial winner, Conte, going to shake a few feathers. But I did say at the time, I understood why Man United won't go for him, even though I was like, that could be all right. I'm not going to act like I didn't say that, but I knew the reasons why they wouldn't, and it's all of this. Even from last season when they got top 4, I'll never forget it. The game after, when you lost against Burnley, and I think he was still on the pitch when BT was asking him, and he just lost the plot again. And yeah, some saw it as like a rallying cry to, you know, galvanise the team, and then they went on a little run and ended up getting top 4. But Conte's a sort of manager, we know it, extremely volatile. One thing you can talk about the tactics, one thing you talk about not using players, etc. But also you have to look at the man. You have to look at what happens when things go wrong. Happened at Chelsea, happened at Inter Milan when he realised the money dried up. Like, it happens.
He seems to stay nowhere.
He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it.
With that though, you take the good with the bad.
Exactly. But right. Same with Jose. You tried to do the same thing. Like, he got volatile at Man United as well. You saw how he left there, but it's like, do you know what? He's a serial winner. He can get us a Carabao Cup or a FA Cup.
Which is what I think Tobi and I would have thought that
you've gone for that so much that you'll take all the bad.
I think we would have thought that we would be looking at winning a few cups this season. That's where the priorities would be. But yet again, the same cycle incurs that we're not looking at the cups. You're out of the Carabao Cup in the first round to Forest. You're out of the FA Cup.
But who's doing that? That's where I think Conte has to stand up and. I know he tried to come to the forefront, and basically how he's got sacked is exposing it all, basically.
Well, yeah, which is
but
how it always
when you are
happens.
playing Sheffield United at home, and you spoke about it on the show, you're
Yeah.
saying, sorry, away. Who's this? If Conte is Conte, a man who don't give a f about anyone. So what? Daniel Levy has got to make sure you rotate the team and play
in
the
my
kids.
opinion, yeah.
Who's weakening? Because like you said, Tottenham got no business
the reason I say
weakening any
this,
side.
Toby, is because think about it, we had 15 managers, right? 15 managers in Levy's 21 or 22 years, okay? Think about it. We've won one trophy in that time, okay? We'll take Pochettino out of it because obviously we still
was gone.
Yeah, 4 managers since Poch was gone. But if you look at every manager, even actually put Poch in it, when Poch was still there, remember those cup games? We'd still rotate the squad. Cups are never the priority, and that I don't believe that in 15 managers.
But
how is it when it is?
I don't know.
Last
But I'm
season.
saying I don't believe out of 15 managers, Conte included,
we don't
Jose
all
included, they all say no, I don't want the cup.
But
at this
we'll
club that
change it.
doesn't win anything.
I think that is a reflection on Levy, because last season? No, season before last,
definitely
where you
Levy.
got to the final, right? And was it a couple of days or a couple of weeks before the final?
A week before the
final,
Sacked Jose.
Levy sacked Jose. That for me was Levy saying to the fans, "I don't care if you want trophies.
Yeah.
We're going to save some money here."
But surely the appointment of Antonio Conte, Daps, right? He brought him in to. I look on it and I say to myself,
I agree with
both
this,
that
to be fair.
appointment of Mourinho and Conte. He just literally said, "We need trophies."
Yes, there is no long-term strategy for
Because
that.
these
It's get
guys,
it done by any means.
like you said, they're serial winners. The one thing you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
When you get both
Do
of
you know
those
what, Robbie?
managers.
The truth
but
is-
the one thing you know is they're going to give you a trophy. So he's looking at, he's thinking, Tottenham fans want a trophy. I'm going to give them a trophy. I'm going to bring in these serial
Robbie,
winners.
you know
but
how
it's not worked out.
But all of that, right? The truth is, what's going wrong at Tottenham? You just have to look where things go right. We'll go with City. We'll also currently put Arsenal up there. Is the most important thing at club is that the board and the manager, firstly, share the same goal, the same direction, right? And it's the right direction, by the way. So, because then they can pass it on to everyone else in the club. Same direction. It's what Arteta spoke about.
They did agree on that. They all agreed, like
but
you
here's
said,
the
just win a
issue.
trophy.
No, they might say that. Hold on, they might say that. But the truth is, we all know what Levy's about. Money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would anyone disagree with me?
No.
Yeah, it's true.
That Conte really seems to be quite about money as well. The fact that all of this, for me, this last probably month at least, has been about, and me and Tobi were speaking before, we all agree with what Conte's been saying about Tottenham. But he hasn't done it for, like, when Ronaldo came out talking about the Glazers, that wasn't really because he cares about Man United. That is because he wanted to push for a league.
You leave it in an untenable situation. Yeah,
So
of course.
it's what Conte's
He
done
gave
at
up.
Tottenham. He has
Conte gave
basically
up ages
done.
ago.
He wanted to leave, and he said things
He
that
wanted
Tottenham
out,
fans are
didn't
he?
saying. He's right, but he's not doing that for the good of Tottenham. He's doing that.
I didn't
So there's
think he was right because half of the things he was saying right is because
His
of
fault.
him.
Yeah.
Exactly. No accountability.
He took no exactly
But
no
that's the
accountability.
problem, though.
He took no blame for any of it
Yeah.
himself.
And that's the
right?
problem.
And I'll tell you with me, right, like from the minute he came in, right, obviously when I saw the appointment, I was like, ooh, this is Tottenham could win. So obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I'm thinking they could now.
Not the league.
Break that sort of
You never
not the
thought
league, but I think he can bring him a cup or something.
yeah.
But the minute I saw his contract from the beginning, I was
18
like,
months.
I was
18-month
like,
contract.
It screams out, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
month to month,
that's
month to
basically
month. It's just-
all
that's
he's ever
basically.
done, the
And then
whole thing has been
even
like
when he got into the top 4 last season, he extended it. And straight away, I'm thinking to myself, this guy is not here for the long term. He's not really. This job is not really what's interesting him at the moment. This is just like he's treating it like a little stopgap.
But-
That's how it seemed to me because if he was serious about this job, when he got the top 4, the next stage of the rebuild, the next stage of the process, he would have renewed his contract and said, we're
going to back this
and
guy
the
and we're
other
gonna
thing
go
is
that
as well, right? Where you say about the money he got, right? You never get all the money and get all
I
the
agree.
players you want straight
agree.
away.
I agree.
Nobody.
Yeah, you gotta
not
weigh it
not
out,
even
you gotta
Pep
work with
got
what
that
you
at
got.
City.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even. You look at Eddie Howe at Newcastle. No matter how much they've got. Limitless amount of money. He hasn't had everything straight away. You don't always get it straight away.
You don't know what you need straight
I
away.
look at. I know. Tottenham fans have a go at Levy, and I can understand. Right, I get it because for someone who's been in charge for so long.
Yes,
And
ultimately failure.
under your tenure, he's not won anything.
failure,
For
yeah.
me, he should walk. I don't want him to walk, but he should walk, right? Because it's been under your tenure that's
As
not
fans,
happened.
but as a business,
but I
he's
do
doing
look
well.
on it. I do look at it and say to myself, I remember Arsenal when we moved to a new stadium, right? First thing that started happening, we lost all our best players. They got sold year in, year out. He hasn't done that. He's kept Harry Kane.
Okay.
When he could have sold him, he's kept Son. He's, you know what I mean? He's spent money and bought players in, right? He's given you guys 2 world-class managers.
But the difference with them is they did start losing their best players. When they started losing Ericsson, when they started losing Alderweireld, when they started losing... They never ever replaced them.
I think they all...
Arsenal had a cycle where they could keep trying.
Not at that period when we moved into the stadium.
Wanyama, Dembele...
We were just literally getting rid of everybody.
No, you
right?
were, but times changed though. Times changed. Like we used your example to learn from the mistakes that you made in terms of financing, like debt restructuring. Right, we were able to agree a manageable payment that didn't actually have a basically a detrimental impact on the funds that were available to spend on players. So nobody criticizes Daniel Levy and co for what they've done.
For the infrastructure of the football.
Everyone knows that what they've done. And I'd be lying to you if I sat here and said that Daniel Levy throughout his Spurs tenure hasn't benefited.
He's made Spurs relevant.
He's made no.
He has.
I don't.
He has.
I don't agree with that.
I tell you why he has.
I don't agree with that.
If you get a big stadium like that, where the expectancy goes up. Obviously, Poch is the football, the actual on the pitch reason why Tottenham became relevant, because he kept getting top 4, push for the title. But in terms of infrastructure as a football club, Tottenham, no one saw Tottenham as a Tottenham is now a tourist attraction where if you come to London, you want to go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, go catch an AJ fight, go catch a. I'm saying that's off the pitch. But he secured investment into that football club that can get them a new training ground. Things that Man United now want, by the way. So the infrastructure of the football club, he has made them relevant.
But that's saying the same thing I said.
Agreed, and that's why. That's what I'm saying.
I don't care about being a member of a portfolio. I can care less. Neither could Tobi.
But one of them has to start.
But
he has given you a world-class.
He has. But now you just need to get the footballing style right.
Nobody disputes ground.
He's got him go-karting.
Nobody disputes any of this. So as I said, when it comes to the business aspect, fantastic businessman. But unfortunately, he makes the football decisions as well. Unfortunately, he makes the football decisions as well. And the football decisions, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, have not been good enough.
Sorry, can I just add on that?
Okay, 1 second, guys, because we've got loads and loads of comments coming in. Also, I'm gonna move it on in a bit because I want to find out who's next, and we're currently running a poll on it. It says who should replace Conte. At the moment, 30% say Pochettino, 45% Nagelsmann, 26% go for others. Let me just go through some of the super chats that have been coming in. Sachiv says, don't blame Ryan Mason. He's put laughing emojis. Ryan Mason back in.
He wants to living the dream, mate. He keeps getting up there. He keeps getting
How does his name?
He's living the dream.
His name being put into the
every 18 months, it's like Ryan.
He doesn't expect a pay rise. That's why he gets it. He doesn't expect a pay rise.
Entry Elite says, let's be honest, Robbie, Spurs fans are only complaining because of how well Arsenal are doing.
No.
If they were below them, they would be celebrating. Now,
I hate this narrative.
Is there a little bit to that in that it's made... hear me out now. It's made it worse. Because remember, you are in 4th. We're not looking like a Tottenham at the moment in 8th or 9th. You're in 4th. Is it because... hold on, let me just hear me out on it, what the guy was saying, right? Is it because Arsenal are at the top of the league at the moment that's made things worse, the situation look worse for Spurs? This one irks me, right? And I'm not even going to sit here and say to you that some Spurs fans aren't annoyed by that. Even me, I hate Arsenal. I hate seeing you guys do well. So yeah, a part of me is annoyed that you guys are thriving and making all your jokes and clipping us up and whatever. But fundamentally, my attitude towards Tottenham has nothing to do with Arsenal. We've been dumped out. Nottingham Forest are fighting relegation and they knocked us out of the League Cup. Sheffield United are a championship team and they knocked us out of the FA Cup. We didn't play a single Premier League side in the FA Cup. We could have had a free run to a FA Cup semi-final playing Championship and League One opposition. We're out. Right? Champions League. AC Milan have the worst defence of any team in the Serie A in the top 10. They have been in free fall since post-World Cup.
right? We couldn't score a single goal in 180 minutes against AC Milan. The first half at our ground, 1-0 down. We only had 2 attempts, 0 on target. Harry Kane had his first attempt on target, his first chance created in that game in stoppage time in the second half. So when we talk about Arsenal doing well, respectfully, it means nothing to me when I look at how badly Spurs are doing. The reason why I'm angry at Spurs is because they have failed to meet their objectives this season. And when you say, oh, Spurs are sat in 4th, yeah, we're in 4th right now, but Newcastle have 2 games in hand on Spurs and are 2 points behind. Liverpool have 2 games in hand on Spurs and are 6 or 7 points behind.
It's like a false position because people ain't played.
Brighton have 3 games in hand on Spurs and are I think 8 or 9 points behind, right? Okay, none of these teams are going to win. Though. Yeah, points on the board. None of these teams are going to win all their games. But this whole 4th narrative is hilarious because we have to go to Liverpool. We have to go to Anfield. We have to go to St James's Park. These are 2 teams.
Man United have to come to
Man United have to come to our ground. So do you back Spurs to win these games?
Yeah, but you never know with Spurs.
Yeah, you never know. You're right. We funny enough,
the one
thing I actually agree with you on is we still have a good chance of getting top 4. You're right. You're absolutely right. But this narrative that because we're 4th, we should be happy.
No. It's not that you should be happy, but it's just that what the guy's saying is the Arsenal situation has made it worse. SACKED says, by the way, in hindsight, would you have had Arteta over Conte?
He's an Arsenal man. No, get him out.
SACKED says, fossil football, Christmas tree formations, expressions oozing 2023. El Shifty says, Robbie loves Spurs, talking more than the Spurs fans, right? Soleil says, all I'm hearing is excuses. Conte is a winner and won everywhere. Spurs is a failed club. Robbie was right all along. No defending it. Dr. Shubman, listen, we'll read that one later. It's a comment about Man United. PSV says, I hope the Spuds enjoyed finishing above us. Print the tables out, laminate them, and add it to the trophy cabinet. Mason permanent, and he's got praying emojis. That is their level.
Genuinely, I hope you're not winning.
Richie Zauer says, question for Abbi. Abbi, Kane to Arsenal, what do you think? They're really coming in today.
Sure.
And Silver,
to his childhood club.
Silver Ronin says, even
why are you starting with me today?
Right, Silver Ronin says, even at our worst, Arsenal won FA Cups, unlike Spurs.
Agreed.
That is true. Right now, let's talk about who's going to get the job next. Let's just talk about some of the candidates that are up for the job. I'll run through a few that have been suggested, and then you guys can tell me afterwards who you think would suit the job. So Luis Enrique has been linked with the job. Thomas Frank of Brentford has been linked with the job.
I'm open to Thomas Frank.
Oliver Glasner of Eintracht Frankfurt doing a great job this season.
I need to do more research on him, but
Ryan Mason, of course.
No.
Julian Nagelsmann, who's just been sacked by Bayern Munich, the favourite according to our polls. It seems to be the real favourite. Mauricio Pochettino, currently without a club. Marco Silva has been linked to Fulham, doing a great job with them this season. Could Christian Stellini get it on a permanent basis? Roberto De Zerbi.
They won't buy out that contract.
Brighton has been doing a great job. Zidane has been another one.
How are they getting linked with these managers?
We haven't. He's added that one just to banter us. Right?
No. Look, I'm looking at on the BBC website. They suggested Zidane.
That's BBC.
It's toilet reporting then, isn't it?
I mean,
come on, the SB.
All right, let's look at some of the
SB role.
Somebody like Luis Enrique. Who do you want? Who do you want next?
My preference is just a new manager, man.
Who do you want?
Ryan Mason.
Because
actually, he's not a new manager to be.
Who do you want?
I've remembered everything you've said. When we speak on Man City, I'm going to come for you hard. So
it's a list of managers.
Pause. Oh my days. Pause.
There's a list of managers that are available. Who do you want?
To be honest, I don't know who I want. Right? I don't know who I want.
Would that be good? I mean, the football would be exciting.
I would like Nagelsmann, but the reason why I'm saying I don't know who I want is because I don't really have a huge affinity to one person, right? As long as Spurs get the right profile manager who ticks...
Who is that?
What, the right profile manager?
Yeah, who is that for you? Who is that right profile manager? Is this another let's go out and get a serial winner.
No.
Or is this
that's done
the
now.
process?
Toby, say your reaction. I think
You've got to get behind it.
What do you want? What do you want?
I'm gonna explain. If you
What do you want?
if you start
Tell me what you want.
And what do you want? So I'm just asking.
Toby first.
working with and developing young players, right? Integrating players from our academy into the first team, playing an aggressive brand of football, a front-footed brand of football, tactically flexible, and someone that's young enough that we can actually build a project around. Similar
Sounds
to
like
what
Pochettino.
similar to listen, Poch is a good candidate for the job. Like
You go back.
The thing is, to be honest, I don't really believe in going back. And funny I say this, because last time round, in the summer before Nuno got the job, Poch was linked again, but he was obviously at PSG and Conte was linked. And there's positives for Pochettino, but me personally, I feel like it's too soon. If Poch was going to come back, I would ideally want him to come back under new ownership, right? But again, when we talk about managers that tick these boxes, Poch ticks a lot of these boxes. My only issue with Poch is I don't really like managers going back, so I would prefer someone new.
I saw your reaction when he said Thomas Frank, and I think that's one that in your head you think that might make sense.
So that's why I said with Robbie, I don't have a specific name. Like, I would like Nagelsmann. Obviously, Nagelsmann is the front runner. I think for me, he's probably the one outside of Pochettino. He's probably the one that a lot of fans want the most, and I think he makes a lot of sense because he ticks a lot of those boxes I mentioned. But so does De Zerbi. Yeah. Thomas Frank ticks that box as well. Even some of these Portuguese managers, Ruben Amorim ticks some of those boxes. Roger Schmidt ticks some of those boxes. I don't have a huge affinity to just one manager. I'm pretty open as long as Spurs make the right
It's the
appointment.
criteria that you're more concerned about
100%.
and ticking the boxes.
I'd kind of echo everything that Toby's just said, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously everyone knows I love Mauricio Pochettino. I'd be very happy to see him back because I think he got completely done
Shafted.
so wrong. Yeah,
Got shafted.
He got completely
Let's be real.
shafted by Daniel Levy and co. He should never have been sacked. So
Agreed.
I'd love to see him back. Agree with Toby that I would prefer it under new managers, new owners, which I'd love new owners. That's no secret either, but that's not going to happen. Again, Thomas Frank, I think we were talking about him again on this show a few weeks ago, and I said that I'd love to have him, but why would you leave Brentford? They've got such a well-run club. They have, great signings.
Would Thomas Frank be another Nuno?
No.
You know what?
That's rude. To Thomas Frank.
No, because Nuno Espirito Santo. Remember, he brought Wolves up.
He could be.
Let's remember, before he went to Tottenham, he was doing an unbelievable job.
You know what it is with Thomas Frank? It's because I feel like Brentford, they have been working with a relatively small budget. Nuno had a lot of money, considering they were a newly promoted team. Nuno had a lot of money to put into his team, right? And whilst I actually think Thomas Frank's Brentford team, they don't actually play amazing football. I just feel like they're really efficient and he's able.
They're also a well-run club, but the only thing is that the way that they do their business is through that kind of Moneyball metric, which we don't have. So I don't think he'd like that particularly. Graham Potter turned us down twice before the season we got Nuno because he didn't want to come to a club that wasn't well run.
I think
that was another thing.
I think money talks with someone like Thomas Frank though, because I feel like there are reasons why he may not want to enter into the mess that's Spurs, but I don't think we're starting from zero.
Sorry, can I just? There's another mess there.
I wanted to get 1 second. Before I'm going to come to you in a second, right? I want to get Flex. Who do you think would be the best manager for the job for Tottenham right now?
It's hard, man, because I know it sounds cliche, but I don't see what any of their managers can come in and can do under the same regime. I really don't.
But you've got a manager. You've had a manager that's come in under the same regime. You could argue worse regime.
But they still made changes. They got rid of Ed Woodward, who they were in the process, and now they're trying to sell the club. Like, actually, it's the same regime, and the Glazers are potentially going to go now. There's a lot of change at the football club. A lot. Eric Ten Hag has come in, and not to make it about Man United, but just on that thing. Eric Ten Hag 100% has hands tied behind his back. So I get what you're saying, because if you get the right manager in, you can get him.
250 million hands tied behind his back.
But he has. He has. Okay. We've got Val Veghorst up front, mate, for 4 million, because there's no P's, because the
that's because you spent it all on.
Do you know what I'm saying?
But he's still doing a great job.
He's still doing a great job. We've got a trophy at the first. Don't let me come for you.
And you can see.
Don't let me come for you. The Carabao Cup's already in the locker. We're on for more, mate. Yeah, I'm trying to help you out here.
But the thing is, when I look at your manager, I see a plan.
Because he's
a
good,
process.
yeah.
There's something's happening there.
Yeah, he can improve young players, and he can make players that we thought were dead and buried.
So who
actually
out
better.
of that list is
so
that person?
I would say top candidates out of that. I like the sound of Thomas Frank. De Zerbi's a very good one. I like the sound of
They went by
Nagelsmann.
Nagelsmann's the shiny one out of that, where it's like, well, he's got pedigree. They obviously done a great job at RB, and then not so well, obviously at Bayern. But they're really ruthless. They're only a few points off Dortmund, but they just can see some early signs. They're like, nah, see you later. Hasn't worked out for him there, but he could potentially do it. I would say, I like De Zerbi and Frank.
Right,
You wouldn't have
Daps, what about you?
Poch, I don't think go back to Poch.
Would you go back to
think
Poch
should.
if it was you?
Going back isn't good.
What's going to change?
But for me, that's the key, right?
More money
Am I
to
not
spend
right that
now.
when Poch was there, was Mitchell there when Poch was there?
He was, but he
Right.
left.
And that's the issue. That's what they need to sort out, right? Because when I spoke before about how Conte
They brought in
and
that
Levy
Paratici
are both-
with a big,
right? So Robbie,
big rep, innit?
Robbie, but
He's
go
brought
back
in some
to
good players.
But go back to what I said about money. Levy's about money. Conte's shown he's about money. Paratici is now been found guilty of charges to do with money. Right? They need someone to come in that is going to work with the manager.
But he brought
That's
him
the
some
key.
good players.
But Poch
He's
and
brought him
Mitchell.
Kulusevski, he's brought him Bentancur.
Can I be honest with you?
Richarlison.
Richarlison,
Jed
They need a good sport. They need.
Basuma.
They need. But
these are good
again,
players.
No, but when you're
They are
talking
good
about the players, this is the issue. Conte and is it Paratici?
Paratici.
Right. It looked like they didn't have a relationship. That Paratici's doing deals not based on what Conte wants. It needs to be someone that is going to work with the manager. They need to work together.
But I think there though, Paratici and Conte, they already had a previous working engagement from Juventus. I think what has changed here is obviously Paratici, despite his relationship with Conte, also has a mandate to the club.
To Levy, yeah.
To the club, right? So whilst you're
That comes
also
over anything.
whilst you're also looking for
employed
players,
by.
whilst you're also looking for players that Conte would like, you also need to look
Isn't
players.
that true
for
of
players
every club? Every club's
it
the
is.
same thing.
It is, and I'm not saying
Not
this.
every manager gets exactly.
But I'm not saying this
Tottenham's
to. I'm not
biggest
saying this
problem
to
is they
exonerate
don't know
Conte
where
of
they
any
want to
blame.
go.
Yeah.
Tottenham's biggest problem is that they haven't sat down and done the reset that Arsenal did. When it was going to shit with Arsenal, right? It was Kroenke out every week. It weren't too long ago. Only 3 years ago. It was Kroenke's out, ruining our club. You know what I mean? On the picket line. Yeah, and rightly so, because things were bad. When you watch that All or Nothing documentary and Eddie speaks about that process, they sat down, and I know this is going to hurt, but it's true. Because even as a Man United fan, I look at how they did it. Resist all of the temptation to sack, the temptation to push the pack, because we've all sat down at this round table and we have agreed a new way of doing things because this hasn't worked. I still think that Tottenham, all they've done is get round the round table and look at how they're going to build an infrastructure around Tottenham Hotspur, and they've done that because the stadium is there, the sustainability is there to go and secure. Daniel Levy away from the footballing side to secure the NFL, to secure F1, to secure boxing fights and big commercial deals. That is a massive job that needs to be done by a specialist person, and he smashed it out of the ballpark. Now, the way they've gone massively wrong was once they've achieved that target, they didn't come back to the table and say, right, now it's time to address the footballing issues.
Well, they
How
should
are
be
we
doing
going to
that
do
first.
this?
That should be first.
And when
That
they
should
did
be
do
first.
it, when it didn't work with Jose, what they should have done then was do it then and say, right,
should
it
have
didn't
done
work. But then they just done exactly
should
the
have done it
same
with
thing.
Pochettino.
You know what I think it
And
is?
until they do that,
Yeah,
nothing
do you know
will change.
what I think it is,
Agreed.
Flex,
Nothing.
right?
They should have done it with
But they should have done
Pochettino.
it with
Simple.
Pochettino.
Absolutely.
What I think it is, right, is that they've been in such a situation over the years, right, in that they are so desperate to win something, right, that they've gone for these
They have
quick
to trade
fix
it. They
managers.
have to trade it again.
It's not just win something.
Quick fix
We're
managers.
desperate.
that are
We're
gonna come
desperate
in-
for top four. It's not just win something. We're
You
desperate for top-
you are, but
top
quick
four.
fix managers that will win something as well as the
But then
top
you
four,
have-
right?
but then you're
But
not
I
even
think
winning
now
anything.
that that's failed, there has to be a reckoning now.
hate this
They have
club.
to
Where
reset.
there has to be a reckoning now where the you know, even whether it be Daniel Levy, whoever, sits down and almost says to the fans, listen, it's going to be a process now.
Yeah.
This is going to take.
Yeah, but
we
you
are
get
now
behind that.
looking.
If
We're
you can
looking
see it,
at a
you get behind
2-3 year
it.
But you
job.
know what?
Young players,
Forget
yes.
about
Pochettino said like literally like 3-4 years ago that it will be a painful rebuild, right? The only person who needs to get their head around managing expectations is Levy.
Yeah.
Because when it looked like Pochettino was slipping away from top four because the squad was basically on its
Should have
knees,
got back then.
then you stick with him and you go through the process of weeding out. Like when I compare it, like obviously I hate doing this, but I compare us to you, right? When you look at your squad now, how many players in your squad are still there from the Wenger era? Xhaka, El Neni, Holding, right? The rest are new players. Spurs right now, you still got.
And it was a painful process.
You still got the poor players that are still there, like Dyer, like Davies, etc., etc. You got Lloris, who has had no competition, no actual competition for
painful
years.
process, like you said.
And then you got the better players, like Harry Kane and Son.
We've had to get rid of players for nothing.
Okay, but that,
Yes, but in hindsight now, looking at what decisions by Arteta.
That's my point.
We're not even in the process. We're still using Eric Dyer as our first choice centre back. You're still bringing on Lucas Moura.
The thing is,
you're still playing Ben Davies. You're still playing Lloris. Like this is.
To play, and the thing is, let me not even be like.
Endless.
The thing is, let me to play both sides. Like,
I think we should get on to Saka now, Robbie. He played all right for
to
England.
play both sides. My last point is this: they have spent more money. They have shown some willingness to try and refresh this team. When you look at the makeup of our attacking players now, you've got Kulusevski there, you've got Richarlison there. When you look at the midfield, Basuma's there, Jet Spence, Pedro Porro. There is still, even with or without Harry Kane, there is still a base that Spurs can work off. The problem is with these guys, it's always half-assing it.
Yeah.
It's always short-changing us. Just do it in full. Like you said, I remember when Poch was back in the job, I said I would happily take Spurs. I don't care about top four like that. If the thing is going to crash and burn, I would rather let it crash and burn with a manager that I trust 100%, and you give him time and resources to rebuild.
That's what Liverpool
like with
done,
Liverpool, that you
Arsenal, Liverpool's done
like
similar.
Pochettino had
Money in the
earned the
bank.
right to be able to firstly be backed, but if he wasn't be backed, then let him have the time and figure it out. And you sack him 4 months after a Champions League final when he had got you there on absolute magic. And the last 4 years, it has just been one nightmare after another. You get your hopes up for what? You don't win it. Your point managers want to win trophies. You don't win trophies. So you need to look fundamentally at every single person around the table, anyone with eyes who follows football knows exactly what the cycle of Tottenham is, apart from Daniel Levy, who seems to get off scot-free and say, we've got to fight till the end to get Champions League. It's just a neighbour.
It's hilarious.
But even if Spurs get top four,
we now have
still in
to
big
get
trouble.
top. But now we have to get top four.
It's not safe and happened last year.
All right, one second. Let me go to a load of comments coming in.
We only get fleeting moments of happiness. I'm only happy for like 4 or 5 months at a time before it turns into chaos, and then I'm happy again for 2 months, and it turns into chaos. Like
You're happy when you beat us.
What?
The fact that they had top four and they're happy about that, but now Arsenal didn't. Now look where Arsenal.
You better win this
Silver
league.
Ronin. Let me do some of these super chats. Silver Ronin says, even at our worst, Arsenal. Oh, I already did one. Sorry.
I can't talk about Spurs anymore.
Black Gemini says Nando's FC celebrate Lady Gaga and Beyonce concerts.
Nobody celebrates this.
Silver Ronin says Gary Neville for Spurs manager. Todd Miller said I'd love Potter to Spurs. He's a Chelsea fan, so I'd love Potter to Spurs and Nagelsmann to Chelsea. Sachi says Expressions Oozing should be the new manager. Anthony T.O. 1993 says what happened to the Nagelsmann talks? Wait until the summer. President Jafar says Tim Sherwood, trust the process for the Spurs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of them like this, I have to say. XV, the next manager, says Richie Zawa. Black Gemini again says Spurs don't know what they want. No wonder the club ain't won anything in 2+ decades. Man can't choose a manager. He's dreaming is free. Mark T says, I am glad that Arsenal did not sign Conte in the end. He was one of our contenders. Thank you, Spurs, for taking him. Sometimes experience doesn't mean anything. Younger managers are hungrier now. Todd Miller said Amazon should create a new docu-series, Psychology of a Tottenham Fan. Would this be a comedy? Always up the Chelsea, he says. Let's have a discussion, says Spurs fans talking like they're Bayern Munich. Beggars can't be choosers. He goes, you should be lucky that even Big Sam, you should be even lucky for Big Sam. He goes, Nagelsmann. Rye 2696 says, Robbie, please go and buy Abbi an Arsenal shirt. She looks beyond stress with Spurs now. I'm worried that she'll leave with no hair by the end of the show. For both of you, will Kane stay? Harry Kane now, who's brilliant. Broke the record for England, scored again yesterday, serial scorer. He's, top goal scorer of all time at Tottenham, top goal scorer of all time at England.
It's all lovely.
Breaking records, but no trophies. 1 year left on his contract at the end of the season. Will Harry Kane stay, or United are lurking, they want a striker? Is he gone?
I think he'll go, to be honest. I don't see a reason why Man United wouldn't put up that money. They paid 80 to 90 million for Anthony, so I can't see why they wouldn't pay a similar amount or a slightly higher amount for Harry Kane. I think he's gone, and listen, I'm resigned to it. I've been prepared for this for 2 years now. So
it'd be a disaster if he goes.
I mean, yes, it's not going to be ideal. It's going to be very, very bad for the club.
Part of the whole reset that you might need, though.
Eventually, Spurs need to move on from Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So, as bad as it is, it's something that's going to happen anyway. Nothing I can do or say will change that. So, if he does want to leave and doesn't want to sign a new deal, then it's in our best interest to get as much money as we can.
If you didn't have Harry Kane, you're Tottenham without Harry Kane's Wolves.
He single-handedly got them into a position.
Seriously, that's
Everton in London.
Huh?
Everton in London.
If Harry Kane leaves, Spurs are not just going to have no striker, are we?
Yeah,
you won't, but he's so prolific. I mean,
we'll have for Danjuma. That'll be it.
No, we're going to get more. We'd have to get more.
Tob?
Yeah, we'd have to get more.
Are we?
Yeah, with 90 million.
100%.
You think it was staying?
Have you seen the way that this? Do you remember when we sold Bale? And we got 7 players, and out of the 7, only 2.
Yeah, they were flops. I agree.
I don't trust the board to reinvest any money.
That's fair.
Ever,
That's fair.
However, I do agree with you. I think that if I'm Harry Kane, I'd say, listen, I've given everything to this club, and I deserve to go and win trophies. And I do not hold it against him at all. Different when it was with you because of the way it went about, and obviously he's only got a year left. But there is part of me that thinks Daniel Levy will say, I'd rather you stay and you go for a free next year because we can't afford to lose you on another transitional season.
That's so Daniel Levy
I
as
can
well.
see that
But then when it's down to money though,
but
money, he's not going to sign a new deal.
No.
And then for the best nature of Tottenham in terms of money, which is Daniel Levy's forte, he can't let Harry Kane leave for free.
I think this
not when Man United or someone's going to come and say
this is about
80
this
million.
is about Kane though.
Whatever.
This is about Kane for me. This isn't just about Tottenham. This is about Kane. I think this is about his mentality and how much he believes in himself.
Yeah.
I think he should go. But it's whether Kane has it in him, and if he doesn't, it kind of that's Kane's. I'm good.
Let me just a couple more super chats here. Leo says F1 10-year sponsorship, the same length. Spurs haven't won a trophy. What a comedy club. Taran says Bowley is going to sack Potter and hire Nagelsmann before he goes to Spurs. And Silveroni says Kane, the new Sol Campbell, come back home. He says, come on, you Gunners. I know you guys don't want to hear that. You ready to apologise to me about when the other day when we Saka?
See, I told you.
Right, the origins of the argument was we did a video on AFTV. On DR. We did a video.
You back your guy.
Who's the better player?
Saka or
Rashford. Of course, I went Saka. He went Rashford. Yeah. But I think we were reminded again over the last 2 England games how good this kid is. Let me start with you, Tobi. You like Saka?
You're not giving him no rest, boy. You're not giving him no rest, boy. Jeez. No, but Tobi, you're a good football man. You can decide.
Tobi's a football man. Tobi's a football man. He's a baller.
No, he is, but yeah, he plays for Arsenal. He's a baller.
Is he world class?
Nah, he's not world class. Yeah. He's not world class.
Is he on his way to being world class?
I think he's on the trajectory to being a world class player, but I feel like he still needs to prove himself at the highest level over a prolonged period of time.
Well, I think the last couple of years, I think last year, him and Emil Smith-Rowe carried Arsenal. They were brilliant, right? This year again, he's got double figures in goals, double figures in assists. You saw the game. And I think, by the way, him and Harry Kane seem to have a very good relationship because
they do.
You saw the game yesterday. Great assist for Harry Kane's first goal, brilliant second goal. But what I like about this kid is he's so consistent. He's like that is
the only thing stopping Saka being world class now, which isn't even his fault, is sample size. Arsenal haven't been in the Champions League since he's been there. So when we get to next year. We want to see those Champions League performances. The sample size increased, so he got to a major tournament again because we had to allow the sample size to grow. So he went to a major tournament, smashed it out of the ballpark, ticked that off. What are you going to be like at the upper end top of
A
the
league,
Premier League,
yeah.
challenging for a league, producing week in, week out, so we can tick that box. So it's about sample size. It's about when you get to Champions League, can we see it? And also go again in the Premier League and keep putting up these numbers. The same reason why I don't say Marcus Rashford is world class. He's in world class form right now, and Marcus Rashford is playing world class football right now, and he's brilliant. But you don't get to do that and then go back to what he did last season and then the season before that. You don't. Basically, world class players can't do this.
I agree.
You can't be like
No,
a
but he was
cardio
brilliant
guy.
last season.
Rashford.
Oh, you're about
No,
Rashford.
yeah, that's what I'm
sorry,
saying. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So Saka is building a strong case now to where you can get the stamp out like you're at the post office or going in immigration control. Go boom, boom, world class. He's nearly there. He's nearly there because of
What do you
the
think, Abbi?
level he's performing.
I still think
Nice
he's a bit away, to be fair. But he's proven that he's a quality player right now. I think the thing that is putting him into that realm now where people are looking at him as like a potentially a world class player is the fact
potentially,
that
Ready to admit he's better than Kulusevski.
What was that a thing?
I plead the fifth.
Was that a thing?
That was
Who
a
said
thing,
that?
yeah.
When did you say that?
So we had a
None of
big
your
argument.
business, innit?
You said that.
None of your
When?
business.
Even last year when Kulusevski come and done alright. What? He was better than Saka.
All right.
Yeah, he done nice.
come
He was
on.
alright. He done
You
nice.
have Anthony at your club and you're talking to
He
me
done
about all
alright.
that.
He's really fit. It's the fourth time he's brought up Anthony now. It's really hurt him.
Yeah, because he sucks.
money.
He sucks. But with Saka, I think the thing that's putting him in that bracket now is obviously this is two tournaments now where he's impressed for England. I
The
think.
character he showed, remember he missed that penalty, right?
Yeah.
You know what, this is another thing I love.
And he was
about
good
him,
in the
right?
whole Euros.
He missed.
great.
He was great in the Euros, but he missed that penalty, right? But he came back at Arsenal because he's the penalty taker. He hasn't missed one.
Yeah, and even
You know
the
what I mean?
penalty in
I
the
like his
Europa
character.
League.
Mentality,
Yeah.
man.
And then another thing I like about him is that every single time I hear a player talk about him, no matter what club they're from. So you see all the players in the England side, whether it be Harry Kane, whether it be I heard what was his name? Madison yesterday talking about him.
Luke Shaw does it.
Foden, all
Luke
the-
Shaw says
Yeah,
he's Luke
Foden.
brother.
Shaw,
Him and
they're all
Foden
like-
get on.
they're
Yeah.
all
They all
like,
love him.
this
Declan
kid,
Rice.
man, we love his character.
Do you know what it is
We
with
love
Saka?
He hates that. He hates
For me,
that. He hates that.
For me, right.
This love sesh is ridiculous, man.
Everyone has different.
It's true though.
different
He's
things
got
that
He's the
they
nation's
need to
darling,
see.
man.
No, but what
He
they
ain't
said-
Harry Kane anymore, mate. The new nation's darling, I can say, is Saka.
Why are you so like
It
bolshy
is.
today?
It is.
care.
I'm not bolshy.
I actually don't care. Let him be the new
I'm just
nation's
saying,
darling.
that's just what it is.
I don't
It was
care.
Rashford for a bit. He done the kids, everything, and now it's moved on to Saka.
Do you know what it
That's
is?
what you gonna say, Dabs?
For me, everyone has different things that they need to see before they can put someone at a certain level. And I don't know if you can remember when we did our Come in Peace, there was a conversation about, and this was back in November, it was just before the World Cup, about if, I remember Drifty saying Arsenal had no world-class players, right? And I said at the time, yeah, that's the way it's deemed now. But maybe Liverpool, before you won the Champions League or the league, people might have said the same. Once a group of players
They
win a trophy, right? And if you look at Arsenal this season, there's key players that you will say have contributed a lot. Odegaard,
Saka.
probably Saliba, Saka. Right? Between they might be.
He's been the best player.
They might. I mean, there's signing wise, Zinchenko is great. Trossard's been amazing coming in, but Saka is one that consistently all season, I would say, has been your player. That when you need him to step up, he steps up. Right now, if you win the league, there's a shout he might be your player of the season. There's probably also a shout that he might, if you win the league, go on and maybe he'll definitely be in the running for probably Premier League player of the season.
not even young.
He's
Premier
also
League,
doing
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. Oh well, and young. He might be
Yeah,
both, right?
yeah.
Then you've got to look at what he's doing at international. So you put a Premier League trophy with that, and for me, I think then because that's what you've
What
got
more
to
could
remember.
he have
When you look at Foden,
Yeah, but-
and by the way, if you look at Foden this season, for me, Saka's been better than Foden. Of
course he has.
But
Clear.
yeah. But
Last
when
season
you
he was
look at
better
it,
too.
the fact that Foden has 4 Premier League trophies, 4 League Cups, 1 FA Cup.
Yeah, but because he
but
plays-
to you,
yeah, it's crazy.
To you,
Because he's at a
I
red-mate
get
team.
that because we look at a player and go, no, we don't always need. Matt Letizia was unreal. He didn't win much, right?
Yeah.
But people will look at it and go, until you get a trophy, you've never.
But that-
Yeah, but Harry Kane is considered world class and he ain't won nothing because he's just
But it's all
consistent.
relevant. All of it is relevant.
He can
that's
get
what
the
I'm saying.
stamp of approval of being world class.
The thing is, team achievements should not be used to measure an individual.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think your contribution to team achievements
Yes.
is a good
Yeah.
measurement. And when you look at Bukayo Saka this season, he's been Arsenal's
You
best
can't
player.
talk to him, yeah,
He's
you
been
can't.
Arsenal's best player, and he's probably one alongside Haaland and Odegaard.
Yeah.
And he's one of the front runners for
agreed,
PFA
agreed.
Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year. So, but I just feel like, for me, world class is a standard.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at the wingers in world football that have been world class, what have they been doing year in, year out? They're scoring goals. They're impacting games at the highest level. They're deciding games consistently for their club. I think Bukayo Saka has, in the last 2 seasons, has now added goals to his game. This season,
Remember, he's
added
only
more.
21.
Yeah, I agree.
His trajectory is of a world-class trajectory.
Exactly. So the way he's going, he's a threat outside of scoring, and now he's added goals.
And just going back to the Tottenham thing, it is the way
It
you
needs
guys,
time.
you know what I mean, even though I don't want you to, but it is the way probably Tottenham need to go, because remember, Saka's come through the academy, you know what I mean? And there is a big thing for that sometimes when you bring through players, I mean, Harry Kane, your best player, has come through your academy, you know? I mean, we all chase that shiny player.
Yeah.
Rashford has come through your academy. Foden has come through your academy. You know what I mean? So there needs to be more put on that, because, you know, these are players that will come through.
There's certain games where you need them as
fight
well.
for the badge.
I can tell you now.
You know, if Harry Kane was any other player, apart from a player who'd come through the academy, he'd have gone a long
Of course he
time.
would.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had any affiliation with Tottenham, would
Yeah, he would have left ages ago. Right?
But there is a thing where when you're play, like when we play Liverpool or when we play Man United, I want to see Foden on that pitch, right? Because he gets it, and you do need those players at times. Man United, if you go back and look at, you know, the class of '92, right? They all love the club. Like, it is
They'll
relevant.
fight for
You
it. They'll die
need,
for
you
it.
need people that like.
And
for
they want
me-
to perform for it every single week.
Exactly. You need those players.
Yeah. Let me run through some more comments here. This one coming from ZZZZZ. He says, Toby, we got a man called Vegos, if you want, for Kane. Anthony, I know. Big up these men for coming in today still, right? Anthony Chio 1993 saying, Saka putting Mudryk on the floor. Put that picture up. Harold says, thoughts on that Rodri tackle on Odegaard. Oh, did you see that? He didn't even
The
get
block.
a penalty for that as well.
I know. Wasn't
He
that bad.
took him out, man. I mean, that was like he Pepper
do
Bean
you
told
think-
him, yo, Rodri, get that guy out of the team, man.
Do you
I'll
think
tell you,
maybe it was
I
a little
scared,
bit?
man.
I agree with you, by the way. I think it should have been a penalty.
Disgusting, not worth penalty.
But
And he could have took him out.
It wasn't as bad as I feel Arsenal's fans are making out.
It was bad.
wasn't. I don't
Richie
think
says,
it was.
my
It was
best-
actually a block for me. It was more of a
100%.
block.
It was a poor tackle, but
It was a
the blame is on
poor
the
tackle.
blame is on the referee. Rodri's not gone in there to try and break Odegaard's leg.
That's not Rodri.
I
He's
don't
not
know.
that type of
By the
player.
way, Foden's going to be out, isn't he? He's had his appendix out, so he could be out for about a month.
Get well soon.
Richie Zauer says, my best winger of my life in the league, Hazard and Saka. Todd Miller says, I dream of Saka in a blue top, world class. And alternate Cav says, Saka has 1 goal and 0 assists in 10 games outside of the Prem for Arsenal. Did nothing in the FA Cup and Europa League. 13 goals and 10 assists in 38 games overall. Mid numbers. Rashford is way better. What are you talking about?
that's
In
crazy.
the Premier League.
That's crazy.
At the
They're
World
taking
Cup.
the Carabao. They're taking the
I don't even
Carabao
like
and FA
defending
Cup.
Saka, but he's literally listed like good numbers and then called it mid. I don't.
Anyway,
Then
because
he
it's
said,
not
get the
across all
Premier League.
comps.
Let's focus on the FA
He's
Cup
just
and
played them
Carabao
one.
Cup.
Well, you
Come
say
on, man.
forget the Premier League. The nice little segue into the fact that, I mean, let's just take a look at the games coming up this weekend. We are back in Premier League action.
We've got to wait till Monday, Toby.
I'm in
Yeah,
Kenya.
yeah,
I'm
your
in
game's
Kenya.
gone.
I'm
Gives
in
you time
Kenya.
to
I
get a
can't- I'm
manager.
not-
Are you?
Yeah, I'm in Kenya.
you're in
There's
I'm
loads
in
of
Kenya.
Gooners in Kenya, I'll tell you that.
I don't care.
Trust me.
I
Look,
don't
any
care.
Gooners in Kenya, look for Toby, man.
I'm in Kenya.
Welcome him, give him a nice welcome.
I ain't been to watch Spurs.
He's actually a nice guy.
Yeah, I ain't been to watch Spurs since Milan, and I'm not touching.
Serious?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
not.
season ticket holder.
I know. I'm just giving my ticket to it. I'm not watching. I'm not going back to that stadium.
But what about
until we
now?
play
Now?
United.
We got to go now.
New
innit?
manager. now.
No.
No.
Ryan Mason.
Get behind the
Toby
team.
are
The
the
team
exact same.
needs you.
What you need to really, Robbie, you know how it is. You know how it is. Going to
They
games.
do though.
Going
He's
to
worse
No,
than
the
me.
team. No,
Yeah,
this is
I know,
this
I
is
know.
what being. This is the bit where, as a supporter, you got to come out. And
Yeah,
say,
yeah, they've
right,
got my
he's
money,
gone now.
but they've got my
There's
money.
going to be an atmosphere here. We're going to make it difficult
man,
for people to
nah.
come in. The last 10
You know- you
games,
guys know how it
we got
is.
10 cup finals to
You
get
ain't
to.
been for a few weeks, have you?
Everyone knows how it is
The
here
only
going
game
to
I've been
games.
to
You know how it
since-
is going to games. It's a good, if it's a home match, it's a good 4-5 hours out of your day. Done. Why do I need to put myself through that when I can just see the dross from home?
Yeah.
I can see the dross on my screen, and at least I would.
But you
be
don't know if
pissed
it's
off.
because you don't know if it's going to be
Then
Joss
it's-
anymore.
I don't
Then do you
care.
know what?
I don't
We're
care.
gonna wait till if
I
it
don't
gets
care.
good and
I
then
don't
try and
care.
jump in the last
I
four
don't care.
games.
Stellini and Mason and dugout. I don't really care.
He's a disgrace, by the way.
They
Stellini.
broke you.
I
We didn't
thought
talk about
Stellini
that.
was his friend.
Nah, he's a
I thought
disgrace.
Stellini was his mate, by the way.
How can he let my man take all the flack and say,
was thinking
I'll stay
that,
and
the
I'll
fact
hold
he's
down the
staying.
fort? That's bad.
Conte?
He's probably got on a
Stellini.
different contract. He's making
You don't
some
get
money
to do that, man.
Apparently
He's right hand man,
apparently
doesn't he?
Conte's giving him
His blessing.
He probably
His
got a pay
blessing,
rise.
yeah.
He probably got a pay rise.
and I don't blame him for taking it. I don't blame him for taking
He should
the gig.
walk.
I went to Villa New Year's Day, and then after that I thought,
What was- oh, yeah,
absolutely
that
not
was-
wasting my
oh,
time
yeah.
anymore.
The match
Went
you
to
got that game.
Chelsea because my dad wanted to go, and then I said to him, if there's a game you want to go to, tell me. I'll let you know how I feel about it, and we'll see.
Jeez.
They've broke
Anyway,
you. They've broke you.
these are the games coming up at this weekend. Some good games coming up. The first game, Manchester City versus Liverpool, 12:30 kickoff.
If Man City,
City.
if Liverpool beat them,
It's done.
it's over. I will say that. Do you know what? I'm even going to go one further. I think if you just fail to beat Liverpool,
You have to win.
No,
I
flex,
think it's
flex.
over.
You're right.
I
Remember,
really do think it's over.
2011,
They're going to beat
2012.
Liverpool. Come on.
They're
You
at
play-
home, I think. I expect
They're going to
them
beat
You've got to
Liverpool.
win
I don't
the
know,
next
man.
game.
Hold on. Listen.
gonna beat
Here's the
Liverpool,
thing.
for sure.
I get you
They should on
because
paper, but they
because
have to.
If we don't have to.
You
Here's
do.
the thing.
Yes, you
Hold
do.
on,
You think
hold
you
on.
can get away with
Bro,
beating them?
Bro, flex. You should know this. 2011, 2012. We lost on a Sunday against Arsenal. 7 games left. We were 8
remember
points
that
behind
1-0.
Sir
Arteta
Alex
scored that game.
Ferguson's.
I think it was Arteta who actually
behind
scored that
Alex
game.
Ferguson's Man United, who know how to do it, get it over the line. 8 points clear. 7 games to go. What happened?
the momentum, man.
You do know what happened.
No, Arsenal got
You
a
had
points
the
on the board,
momentum
man.
that season. Listen,
All right, so you
until
get-
it's mathematically,
No,
but
you
I
do-
do
you
get
can't
it.
afford
That
to
game,
lose anymore.
that
Man
game,
have to
City,
win.
that game's
Man City versus Liverpool. Arsenal will take on Leeds at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Bournemouth versus Fulham.
Another gimme.
Brighton will be taking. This is a good game. Brighton versus Brentford.
That's good.
That is a good game.
That is a very good game. Crystal Palace versus Leicester. Another good
that's
game
a good
right
game,
down
yeah.
there
Got a lot of
in
relegation.
the relegation fight. That's a
That
great
game's
game.
tough, man.
You got it.
Here's another one. Nottingham Forest versus Wolves.
Big.
Yep.
Forest
Right.
win. Forest
And
win.
Chelsea, this is a bit boring, mid-table game.
Mid-table Chelsea.
It is, isn't it? Chelsea versus Aston Villa.
Mate,
That
Chelsea
is
need to,
that
Chelsea
is
need to watch out
literally.
for Unai Emery.
That is literally when you say mid. That is it.
Yep,
I mean, the
that's
two
literally
teams,
mid. You're right.
On the Sunday now, it's West Ham versus Southampton.
Big game.
Nicky Hawkins,
Another-
West Ham TV.
Another big game.
Big game.
The 4:30 kickoff is another
big
big one.
one. That's a big
Newcastle versus Manchester
That's a big one.
United.
Let's get a draw
That's
and get out.
massive, you know.
game.
That's huge.
Huge
Massive.
game.
Newcastle
And then
need
on
that.
Monday, all eyes turn to Tottenham's
Monday Night
visit
Football.
Goodison Park. Let me tell you
Wait,
something.
you got to go Everton next game.
We're not going to win that. I can
It's
tell you.
at Everton.
Is it at Everton?
Yeah.
We won't win that.
Stone
Not looking
Cold,
good, bruv.
Steve Austin, Sean Dyche waiting. I mean, listen, he's already,
That's
he's
a
already
loss all
taken
over
us
it.
out. He's got a draw.
Under the lights at Goodison,
That's got-
Monday
that's
You've
night.
still got to go.
That's got
Goodison.
Michael
That's a
Keane
tough-
header.
That's
James
got draw written all over
header.
it. Draws.
Oh, no, you've got a
Draw
good
Spurs.
record against Everton, haven't you?
Draw
Doesn't
Spurs
matter.
loss. I
Yeah,
think.
That's
Good
definitely
record
Spurs
against
loss.
Everton,
Definitely
haven't
Spurs loss.
Yeah,
beaten them.
you're right. Actually, we've actually got a pretty
Got a
good
good
record
record
at
against
this
them.
line in recent years.
Yeah,
I
but
just-
Dyche weren't there then, mate.
I don't know. Listen, Conte's gone. Maybe you don't know. Maybe his impact on these players might have been greater than we even imagined. So you never know what.
Are
could
we still going
happen,
to go? How are we going to set up at the back?
I don't know.
That's going to be the most
In fact, free at the back.
interesting thing.
No.
If
It's
you
not
got
interesting.
Stellini, is he still going to go with the same?
Yes, because he's a disciple of Conte. He's going to set up a free at the back.
That's why I should have walked.
100%.
Imagine if he was just like, do you know what? This is my
Disgusting,
time
mate.
to
Disciple of
shine as like
Conte.
a manager. I'm going to go. I'm going to
Actually
tour
shows.
at the
I've
back.
never liked
I'm gonna
three at the
go-
back.
If he changes it,
Never
it
liked
means
three in midfield.
if he changes it, it means he's a snake.
Do you know
Do
what?
it. I
Do
want
you
him
know
to be
what?
a snake.
But he's got to
He
save
is
himself.
This is a thing, right? Do you think they should have just left him in charge, Conte, until the end of the season? Said to him, get us top
No,
four.
after
then,
saying all that,
then
man.
you go.
I don't
Because
think
they're
he
going to run for him. They ain't going to do nothing.
He had to
You can't do
go,
that,
but
man.
I don't know. I don't agree with Stellini being
Agreed.
being
he can't still be
the
there.
interim. However, if the alternative is Ryan Mason, then yes, I would have to accept Stellini over Mason.
Robbie, when you talk about, I think what you meant there is about maybe leaving Conte in charge there till the end of the season.
Till the end
right?
of the season.
So
Just to get the top four.
But here's the thing with Cancelo and the fact that Pep said, you know what, he needs to go, loan him out, right? Sometimes if someone is having an influence on the dressing room, and I think he was, same with Conte, if we look at the way he's in and when you said earlier you have to look at someone as a man, right? If you look at the way he is in press conferences, what do you think he's going to be like in the dressing room, right? Because Pep's come out before and
true.
said, I will defend the players in
Yeah,
front of the
and he
media
does.
till I die. But in this dressing room, I'm going to tell you some home truths. That's how managers usually are. If that's how Conte is in
had
press
to,
conferences. Imagine the morale in the dressing room.
He could after that interview.
There was never any kind
Remember,
of.
he's done it, so it's untenable. Remember,
Ryan
he's
Mason
done it so that the club have no other. That's what
So
Ronaldo
he was
done.
always going.
There's
It's just a
no
case-
other
Yeah,
option.
it was a Ronaldo
Yeah,
move.
it was a
special.
Ronaldo
The only
move.
thing is he didn't
Ronaldo's
go.
one was worse.
The only thing is he didn't
Yeah.
go on Piers Morgan. He
That's what I'm
just
saying.
said,
Ronaldo's
"I'm
one was
doing
worse.
anything."
He's like, I don't just want this to go on like Sky Sports News and talk about it in the news. I want this to go on
And that's the
everything.
thing with Conte. The grand scheme of it is, a lot of what he said was right, but like Ronaldo, a lot of what Ronaldo said about the Glazers was right. But with both of them, we know you haven't
reason
done
you're doing
this
it.
for the good of the club. You've
Yeah.
done it for the good of
Good of
yourself.
yourself. Perth Luxury says, Robbie, what do you think of what do you think will be the new Premier League Hall of Fame inductees, and who will be the
that's
new
a really
nominees?
good
My
question.
money is on Van Nistelrooy and Ty. He says, right. Right, guys. Finally, let me just ask you this, right? New Tottenham manager. You can choose one person for that job, right? And I'll ask you two as well, right? Who you think will be the best person to take over at Spurs come the summer? Flex.
Nagelsmann.
Daps.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Nagelsmann because I think Poch.
I don't know.
Abby.
Like, in my heart would obviously say I would like Poch, but I do, on another hand, think that maybe it's also better to have someone completely new, as long as they are attack-minded and we can buy some defenders and an attacking
A
midfielder.
lot of caveats.
Yeah. So who do you want then?
I hear it, to be honest.
Just put Poch,
Ryan Mason.
in my opinion, just put
Really?
Poch back in because at least he knows what he's getting into.
Poch. I'll do mine actually.
That's
I'm going to
one
give you
thing
mine, right?
Deserve it.
And
That's the thing.
you're going to
No,
think that I'm
there's
going to
no
say someone like
expectation
Big
to walk
Sam.
into something that's
I'd love
being
somebody
sold
like Big
something
Sam.
else.
Don't say
right?
Vieira.
Right, I'm not going to say Vieira. You're mad to go to
You're going to say something like Lampard or Gerrard or
No.
something
You know
ridiculous.
that I've forgotten his name, right? You know the manager of Sporting.
Yeah,
Played
Amarin.
the other day.
Amarin,
Yeah, they said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mentioned that.
I think
He's a good manager.
I think
Yeah,
somebody
he is.
like that, and you put him in and you say, yo, no.
But are fans gonna take?
No,
him?
no.
He
But
plays- he plays
what
through the back.
I'm saying is,
Are fans
you
gonna
put
take
a
to
player
him?
like that in, you put a manager like that in, and you give him time.
Can't be
You've
good
got
at
to.
Time.
Tottenham are not gonna. You've tried it twice with the instant managers.
We're here for time. We're happy for time and
You may as well
patience.
wait now.
You weren't with Nuno.
Yeah.
You may as well. It's,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
like.
Because he was a
Yeah,
he was a
it's like Man
terrible.
United when
Yeah,
Ralph
it was.
Rangnick
It's a terrible
came in.
appointment.
Yeah, so
We
you
have
may
to,
as
you
well
have to,
wait.
it's the season. Well, actually,
may as
no,
well
our
wait
season
now.
actually wasn't right.
For the right appointment,
but
everyone will
they
always
have to.
afford
They
it.
have to go. You know
Manager
what? We're just
time.
going to go to the end of the season. Give it to someone to the end of the season is the best thing to
We
do.
just
'cause you
need
don't want
a
more chaos.
direction
But
and
just-
a
yeah.
clear plan moving forward.
I would have
and
loved for
start.
Toby, we're leaving it. You got
Toby,
the
go.
last word on this. Who?
Similar to Abby, I love Poch, but I want someone new. So I would probably give it to Nagelsmann or De Zerbi. I would try to.
One.
Zerbi would be
One.
great.
Deserve it.
We won't buy out that
Yeah,
contract.
then
It won't happen.
Nagelsmann.
Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you've heard it there. Listen, Nagelsmann seems like, and that was in the poll as well, that seemed to be the favourite to get the job as well. Definitely, if he came in to be entertaining football, we know that it wouldn't be boring free at the back with Nagelsmann. But listen, guys, I want to thank you very much, Daps. Thank you very much, Flex. Toby, thanks for coming on, and Abby, as always. And don't forget, all the coverage is back this weekend. Listen, we enjoyed the watch-alongs, by the way, the England ones. They were really, really good. So make sure you keep supporting those. But we're back with all the Premier League games, and we'll be back with a weekend roundup next week, Monday. Actually, you lot play on Monday, so we might have to do a sort of roundup after the roundup on the
forward
Tuesday
to
as
it.
well. Just find out how you lot got on.
A roundup preview, isn't it?
Desperate for a W, expecting the worst.
Thanks very much for all of you who is watching today. Really, really appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.